before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then, on April 27, 2017, the Chiefs broke free from their journeyman quarterback restraints and drafted Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
In 6 years with Patrick at the helm, we're back-to-back champs and a dynasty headed towards a three-peat. We are unrelenting for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies. Arrowhead allies.
Oh, Kansas City Chiefs fans, it's June. Summer is in the air and a young man's fancy turns to Kansas City Chiefs. Football, the summer solstice is at the end of the week, and the heat wave is coming through, and we're here to break down the activities that Starcade has been busy doing. Noah Groniger took care, went to the golf charity of Justin Reed yesterday and got all burned up. Look at the freaking burns all over his arm. He was taking care of business, getting interviews, talking to Chiefs players and Chiefs coaches alike on what we're about to see in 6 weeks when we go to training camp. Lance Twidwell, Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger. How in the hell are you guys doing this Tuesday?
I'm doing well, a little roasted, toasted, and burnt to a crisp, but that's okay. We were out there for 5 hours yesterday at the Justin Reed inaugural golf tournament with celebrities. I mean, we saw Titus O'Neil, former Florida Gator and WWE champion. We saw Dylan Cole, who was a former Texans linebacker who suffered the devastating defeat up 24-0 against the Chiefs in the playoffs, only to have Patrick Mahomes work his magic and come back and win. And, of course, we talked to Dave Tobe, who talked about Nico Remigio being the number one kick returner right now. He's going to have to make his way in the receiver room to try and kind of oust McCole from that receiver depth chart, but he is the number one kick returner right now. LRZ is also going to be in that kick return game, and he can fling the ball sideways and laterally to whether it's Nico or McCole back there. So they've got to play in there for him to kind of get the ball, whether it's fake lateral or lateral it on kickoffs to kind of fool people. So it was exciting out there, man. It was hot. It was blazing. We were out there for 5 hours. I forgot the sunscreen, so I'm a little roasted, but excited for you all to see those interviews on Starcade Media, wherever you have our socials, whether it's Instagram, Twitter /X, TikTok, our YouTube, our Facebook, whatever it is. The interviews are out there, so please go check those out.
Yeah, epic interviews. You guys, major kudos to you and the intern. And who's the intern again, Noah?
Alex Altoff. Alex the intern is what we like to call him.
Way to go, Alex the intern and Noah. Great interview. You guys watch this on social media. I'm sure if you're on Twitter and you follow the Chiefs, you'll see it. The interviews are everywhere. Great job, guys. That brings up the question, I started the Justin Ross fan page, but I wasn't the only one putting the hype out for him 2 years ago. It was the Kansas City Chiefs website, so I can't take all the kudos for that. When you look at this wide receiver roster, when you look at Nico Remigio, he's getting the same hype that Justin Ross got the last 2 years, but he's a different size. He's the same size as a lot of the wide receivers on this roster. Do you think the new kickoff rule is the reason he'll make the team, or do you think he's just going to do it as a wide receiver? What do you think, Lance?
No, I think he's going to make it because he's a wide receiver. I do believe that Dave Tobe has a significant belief in Remigio's kick and punt return ability. We saw this in college. Even though he ended up being an undrafted player, we know that one of his best skill sets is being able to create with his feet in special teams. And I think Dave Tobe is legitimately impressed with him. And something I tweeted out today, and I actually quote tweeted Starcade's video when Dave Tobe was talking about this very thing, is Dave Tobe has a lot of say on this team. He's the assistant head coach for a reason. Andy Reid trusts his personnel skills and the ability to identify guys that need to make this roster, not just for special teams, but for the offense and for the defense as well. And when Dave Toub gives the sign of approval, like I think he specifically did today with Nico Remigio, you make the team almost 100% of the time. And I think that Remigio offers a lot more, though, than what I think Dave Toub even alluded to today. And the biggest reason why is because of what we saw in training camp last year and what we've seen in the practices and the OTAs and the things of that nature this year. We're seeing Patrick Mahomes develop a trust with Nico in the pass game. And we've seen time and time again when guys develop that trust with Patrick Mahomes, they not only make the roster, but they start getting opportunities in the offense. And we did see glimpses of it of Justin Ross last season. The only difference is that I think that Nico is going to be more of a seamless fit in the offense because, to your point, Shane, he's one of those smaller guys. He's one of those guys that fit the offense better. And I think to that point, you're going to see him fit this offense along with being able to sprinkle in the special teams.
Well, let's not be too hasty, guys. We're having some issues trying to get Shawne Merriman in. Shawne Merriman has had issues with StreamYard before, but he is in. Our guest this week, lights out. Shawne Merriman is joining us. He is in. He is here. Shawne, hello. Welcome to the show, man. Sorry, we always have trouble with StreamYard, and this could be a turning point for us, though. You've done it.
I got it, man. How you guys doing?
Great to have you.
It's great to have you, man. And we got to jump right into it because just a couple nights ago, man, lights out, Extreme Fighting, 17, June 15th. What a crowd you guys had at the casino there, man. I saw like a giant crowd, and things just seem to be just really building and getting bigger for lights out here. Shawne, you must be really proud. This product is really going to the next level, it looks like.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, last Saturday was something special. For one, too, because we went back to San Diego. You know, that's my stomping grounds. And most of our fights are in L.A. or Long Beach. And, you know, we get down to San Diego once, twice a year. So you always try to hope that you're going to have a sold-out crowd. And that I looked out at towards the middle of the night, and it was like a sea of people. I couldn't even see where it ended. So it was one of those nights, man. And our guy, Tommy Aaron, who fought, Jordan Bailey there, they put on a show, and Tommy just came off a big win over at BKFC, you know. So and he came back to us because he was our champion. So it was great, man. You couldn't ask for a better night. And Lights Out Sports, man, it was our highest viewership and traffic we've ever had. We just launched about a little over a month ago, and so we had a little under 20,000 people in there. We just not even a month. I would say about 3 weeks ago we first fully launched. So to get those type of numbers, it just really showing us that the fans and the people watching, they love what we're doing. So it was pretty cool.
Absolutely. And Shawne, I want to talk to you about Lights Out Sports, the streaming service. You have more than just your Lights Out Extreme Fighting on there. You've got poker. I saw some wrestling, some kind of backyard fights. Tell us more about what you have on there.
Yeah, the backyard fights is Street Beast. If you guys haven't seen it, you want to check that out, man. It is the rawest, as raw as you can get. But the other ones on there, in TNA Wrestling, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see about 2 or 3 months ago, I did the show with TNA. Great partners of ours. Outdoor America, we just launched Pursuit, which is outdoor hunting, fishing. Obviously, it's big demographic there. People love to hunt and fish. What else in there? Chess, dude. Like, honestly, I wasn't even a big chess watcher or anything like that, but I've been watching since we launched, and I've been picking up on the commentary. So, the commentary really breaks down the strategy and the method of what those guys are doing. So I've been locked into chess, dude. I've never thought in 1,000 years I would be so into chess. But those live tournaments they have are massive, man. And so it's been cool. Swerve Combat's on there too. Speed Vision actually is going up today or tomorrow. So you guys check out for that. A lot of motorsports. So my thing was, man, I wanted to create a something like a locker room vibe, right? Where you just go to watch sports. Nothing against those streaming services at all, but it's like, man, I want to go someplace to watch this sports. I don't want to have to sift through 300 plus channels and movies and sitcoms. I want to see sports, and so I wanted to create a free platform, man, a free platform of just all sports. We're gonna have probably about 50 to 75 channels on it before the year's out. So it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And by the way, you guys can get it. You got Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, iOS, Android. So any one of these major TV platforms, we're on right now. So
perfect.
Shawne, let's get right to it. If they had to do the 2005 draft over again, obviously you'd be a top 5 pick. 3 running backs went in the top 5, which is, I know it was 19 years ago, but that seems like the way the running backs are treated now, that wouldn't happen ever again. But, man, you were an animal. You were a beast. I'm 54 years old, and I remember watching the Chargers play in San Diego for so many years. It's a shame they're not there anymore. But let's get right to the current Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, and what they were able to do in this year's draft. If you would have told me before the draft that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to get an offensive tackle by the name of Joe Alt, a wide receiver by the name of Ladd McConkey, and a wide receiver by the name of Brendan Rice, I'd say, yes, I'll take that. That is amazing. It's kind of like those guys you run into at work when they say, yeah, in my fantasy draft, I got Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Jefferson. I'm like, dude, how'd you get those 3? Who's in your league? But seriously, you got 3. The Chargers got 3 steals in Joe Alt, Justin Jefferson, and Tyreek Hill, or in Joe Alt, Brendan Rice, and Ladd McConkey. Talk about that draft, because I'm really impressed with it. I'm so impressed I'm losing my mind over it because we got to face them. Talk to me. Sean.
Okay, so I'll say this. Jim Harbaugh's an old school coach, right? He has that Marty Schottenheimer vibe to him, right? And you guys know because Marty was there. I mean, Marty was as tough as they came. And I went to, not last Monday, but 2 Mondays ago, I did something over at the Chargers facility, and I sat around, I met the players, some of the coaches and whatnot. It's something different in that building, man. Like I haven't seen that probably since some of the teams that I played on. And let me tell you about that pick with Joe Alt. Yes, Max Crosby and those guys got to be blocked. But there's another guy, that number 95 with the Chiefs, that you better draft. And you guys had a tight end back in the day who I believe, I can't confirm this, but I believe that Jason Dunn stayed on that team to make sure I was blocked twice a year. To be honest, man, because it was nobody like him. And people talking about, obviously TG was great. I played against Rob Gronkowski, but we're talking about as far as blocking, as far as a massive human being, Jason Dunn was ridiculous, man. And I'm telling you, like I believe that they made sure that he stayed there for as long as it was to block me. And it's the same type of deal, right? Like you have to draft somebody that's going to protect Justin Herbert when you got to see Max Crosby, when you got to see Chris Jones. Like when you got to see these guys, you got to have somebody that can block them. You got to keep Justin Herbert clean. I believe it was 2 or 3 players in this division that caused them to draft Joe Alt, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Great play.
Sean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I compared Jim Harbaugh to Larry Brown, where he's able to win at any level. But like Larry Brown, I feel that Jim Harbaugh has also done something, especially at the pro level, where he tends to kind of wear people down with that heavy personality, and he's a different kind of cat. And although I do believe this is one hell of a hire for the Chargers, and I do believe that people look at this as a long-term answer for the Chargers to get them back to where they want to be, kind of like what you talk about with Marty Schottenheimer and how he got them to a 14-2 season. They got deep into the playoffs, even with Phillip Rivers' injury. I do believe, though, that if Jim Harbaugh is going to succeed, it's going to have to be within the next 3 to 4 years because of the fact that that's just the way his NFL career has gone as a head coach. You saw him in college. It takes 8-9 years to build a program. He did it, and he did it successfully at Michigan. He did that at Stanford. It's a different game. But I think that's the way it's going to have to go with the Chargers. The problem is we know that this is the Mahomes era. We know the Chiefs are in the midst of building potentially maybe the greatest dynasty we've seen in NFL history. Give me, from your perspective as an outside player, but someone who's still very involved in the franchise, how do you think Jim Harbaugh is going to go about this? Do you think he's going to go in it with every intention of being a contender day one, or do you think he views this as a long-term? Let's get this slowly going, but one of these days we're going to really be that team that we envision they're going to be.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you say that. I tried to put a finger on why. I was like, why is this dude? How can he come in more than anybody else? Right? There's so many great coaches in the history of coaching. How does he go on and make an impact faster than anyone else? I mean, that's just his MO. And so being, talking to him, we text a lot, every here and there, then getting a chance to see the players, the coaches. This dude makes people believe. He makes people believe. He makes the coaching staff, the players. hell, man, even the equipment guys I talked to a couple Mondays ago, like everybody feels confident right now. And I'm not trying to take a shot at Brandon Staley, but man, that leadership is different, right? You got some guys that just move the needle, and Brandon Staley just didn't have it. And so now you see guys walking around with a purpose, them going to get things done, being enthusiastic, want to compete every day. And the reason why he comes in and changes the culture, because you never heard him talk about the Super Bowl. You've never heard him talk about the playoffs. He actually had the weight room strength and conditioning coach in the press conference. Right? Like how many times have we seen that ever happening? Because he believes in going and building things brick by brick. We text back and forth this, talking about brick by brick. And that's what makes him great. That's what, and again, he got a very quirky personality, right? He requires a lot out of you. And what I think is going to happen, I think they're going to have one of the hardest training camps they've ever had in a very long time, because there's going to be a weeding out process of the guys who don't want to be there. I mean, getting 63 plus points thrown on you by the Raiders last year, like some of those guys are going to be gone. They're not going to be able to take what's about to happen, right? And I think that it's going to be a weeding out process. And look, if you want to win right now, you need your best 11 on the field, and you need the best 53 on that roster, 53 plus. The guys it is now, but 53 plus on that roster. You walk into the season with your best, because they've already they've been through dog days in training camp. They've been through the dog days of long meetings and dealing with that strong personality. That's what makes these teams great, and they do it in a short period of time, man. So I was really trying to put a finger on, like, how was he able to do something like that? And like the Bill Belichick's of the world, and all these guys have struggled early coming into organizations or programs and couldn't get it done, even though they're great coaches. But how was he able to have that quick turnaround? And his mindset is, I'm going to get the best out of you today. And that to me is what makes him great.
Shawne, we've been seeing teams in the AFC West trying to build to beat the Kansas City Chiefs now for 8 seasons. They've won 8 straight division titles. We've talked a little bit about the Chargers here, but the Raiders, Antonio Pierce comes in, first-year head coach. He has some experience from dating into last year, of course, but a quarterback situation that's extremely up in the air, an improved defense, and Devontae Adams, of course, at receiver. The Denver Broncos, year 2 of Sean Payton, but their roster is kind of in flux. You draft Bo Nix, you get Zach Wilson from the New York Jets. And so my question to you is, where is this division in that growth as far as trying to unseat the Chiefs versus where it was a year ago, 2 years ago? We know the Chargers have got their coach for the future, and it seems like these teams feel confident, but how close is the rest of this division to unseating the Chiefs here, at least starting here in 2024?
It's right now, it's the Chiefs division to lose, right? I mean, it's just what it is. And whenever you have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid back in the same building, obviously Chris Jones and some of the nucleus of that team, you always got a shot. I mean, it is what it is. And I'm telling you, I mean, the reason why, people ask me all the time why we didn't win the Super Bowl. I said, well, guess what I had to do? I had to run into Tom Brady, if not once, twice, because we've seen the regular season, then we've seen him again during the playoffs. I had to run into Peyton Manning. I had to run into, Ben Roethlisberger. So when you got to deal with that every single year, and it's the same thing with the Chiefs. As long as Patrick Mahomes and those guys are down there, it's their division to go and take it from, because I've seen dynasties, and I've seen no greater dynasty as far as extended period of time than the Patriots. But the thing is, with the Chiefs, they're more impactful, right? And I think that the separation for them has been far greater than what the Patriots had in their years. I mean, the Patriots, I think in 07, 08, those teams, I think it was 07 when they had the undefeated season, right, or close to it. Yeah. So they had dominant seasons, but they didn't piece them together. Like I remember in 06, we almost beat them in the playoffs. We got put out the playoffs. But with the Chiefs, man, they got this nucleus together, this formula, with those 3 or 4 guys and 5 guys, really that really moves the needle. And then you got the young guy like Xavier that's going to step up, and you got Drew that came on, start playing well. Like you start having guys to. Now I know Snead's gone, and they got some pieces to figure out, man. But when you got your core guys together, you just need a few guys to step up. And that's why the Chiefs it's really their division to somebody go and take it. But I would say the closest team to take it is the Chargers. And I'm not saying it just to be just to be biased. I'm talking about because they actually have the talent to match, right? They actually have the talent to go out and do it. I think the Raiders are so far behind. I think the Broncos are so far behind. Like these guys are just so far behind that they don't think they got a real shot.
Yeah, we go to a fan question here out of the comments. Shawne Merriman, do you talk to Priest Holmes? What is that relationship like? And if not Priest Holmes, are there any former Chiefs that you talk to?
Well, that's random.
Why y'all do that to me, man? You know what's funny? I'll get stuff, not a lot, but once in a blue moon or something. You tried to kill Priest. Why'd you hurt? I said, hold on, man. This is a legal hit, and Priest is one of, I'm from Maryland, right? So Priest is one of my favorite players, obviously, watching the Ravens or whatever. So I grew up on Priest. And so I never got a chance to talk to him about that, but I did see him probably about 3 or 4 years after the Playboy Mansion party, at somewhere at the Playboy event. What do you say, right? Like, I'm not trying to ruin that man's night. Would you go up and apologize? But we're playing football. But no, I haven't seen or talk to Priest, but hopefully he's doing well.
Now it looks like I might be picking on you, Shawne, because here at Starcade Media, we always look for content out there. You're on a podcast saying how this may be the Chargers' year, so we appreciate the content. We want you to keep the positivity going and the confidence in the Chargers, but we've got to show you that the clip that you provided us that we put out there on TikTok. So here it is.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
I don't know if this is going to be the Chargers' year. Bill Lumberg doesn't know if it's going to be the Chargers' year, but Shawne, you do. You believe.
Okay, this is what I said, right? I think that the Chargers, and I'll say this, and we just touched on it. I think the Chargers are the most talented team not to make the playoffs last year, right? I mean, I think they talented along what they had. You got a franchise quarterback that you should at least make the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to go deep in the playoffs, but they should have made it. When you look at the matchups across the field, right? When you're talking about a great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, well, who stopped great quarterbacks? Pass rushers, right? So now you got at least some pressure, right? Some pressure to put on Patrick Mahomes. You got a running back there and they can run the ball. You got a great Chris Jones. Well, we got Rashawn Slater. So when I talk these things, not like I'm saying I'm trying to be a homer. I'm just saying who could match up against their greatness against somebody who can play against them. So you quarterback, you got pass rushers, you got a great defensive end. And Chris Jones is one of my favorite players of all time. And I think that he's underrated. I know we talk a lot about Aaron Donald and some of these other guys, but he may be up there in my top 5 defensive linemen of all time. So now you got Rashawn Slater. Now they draft Joe Alt. So now no matter what side he goes to, unless he goes to the interior, guess who he's going to see on the interior? Zion, right? So what I'm saying is when I'm throwing these things out there, people are like, oh, he's just being a Chargers home. I'm like, nah, you got a couple guys that can match up with their greatness, and that's why I think that they got an opportunity. And by the way, they just have to figure out a way to get in the playoffs. That's really the biggest thing, because they might have to see the Chiefs again at some point, and they might have to run it back. But the thing is just to beat everybody in your division and win some games outside of your conference and get in the playoffs, then you got a real shot. But until then, man, like I just said, it's the Chiefs division to go out and win until somebody take it from them.
Yeah.
Shawne, we hold a lot of high regard for head coach Marty Schottenheimer. He turned the culture around here at Arrowhead in 1989 when he came here. And I want to talk about that 14-2 season, how it ended with that playoff loss to the Patriots in 2006. My question to you is, did you see that firing coming? Was there enough dissension between him and the owner that it wasn't a surprise? Or was that firing a surprise to you? Because out here in Kansas City, it was a surprise to us. How did you feel about that?
I think it was a surprise to everybody. And I don't think the static was between Marty and the owner. The static was between Marty and AJ Smith, the general manager. And I can tell you that I've seen several heated arguments several times where I felt like I thought I was going to have to break them up at some point. And AJ Smith just passed away not too long ago, I think some weeks or so ago. He was battling cancer. But he was tough, man. AJ was a mother. He was just hard-nosed, hard to deal with. Great. Now, football mind, one of the best. He can draft. He knew football like the back of his hand, but very emotional person. That if he didn't like you, you was not going to be there. It wasn't about what's best for the team. It's if he likes you or not. And you got a strong personality like him, and you got a strong personality like Marty. But nobody with a stronger personality than Marty. So that's where the head button came in. It wasn't the owner. And it's unfortunate because personal feelings got in the way of a championship. Because I think that we had one more year with Marty, we could have pulled it off. We were right there. We knew at that point what it took after the suffering that loss against the Patriots being put out that way. We knew what it took to get there. We knew what we had to do to get back there. We did, right? We came back the following year. I think was it 13-3 or whatever the season was. We had a really good season the following year. So we knew what it took. And sometimes you got to get that little bit of a taste to see, oh man, I've been there. I mean, look, if anybody say that loss of Tom Brady didn't fuel Patrick Mahomes, it's crazy, right? I mean, they know what it took to get there now, and so that I felt like that was the same thing with us. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get that opportunity to continue with Marty at least for another year or so.
I think we lost
Go ahead,
Noah.
Lance.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Lance.
Yeah, no problem. So, Shawne, a question I have, when it comes to the Chargers' progression, when it comes to them actually contending with the Chiefs in the AFC West, when it comes to the Chargers being an actual contender in the AFC and a potential Super Bowl potential Super Bowl contender over these next couple of years, we know it's going to come down to the Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh relationship meshing. We know it's going to come down to these two guys making it work. We know that there's a clash of styles, though. Jim Harbaugh, like you mentioned, is more of an old school style of football coach where he likes to run the ball, smash mouth style of football. Justin Herbert's a guy that has a lot of volume. He throws the ball a ton. In fact, since he became a starter, no one's thrown the ball more than him than Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. So we know that there's going to be a real compromise here between these two guys as to how that's going to work. And that's the only way it's going to work for the Chargers to become something. You mentioned chess and how you play chess. You mentioned you're from Maryland. Well, then I know that you know the story of Omar from The Wire when he says, you come for the king, you best not miss. So we know when the Chargers are talking about, putting this all together, they're coming for the king. And you yourself said it's the Chiefs' division to lose. Patrick Mahomes is the king right now. Do you believe that this particular duo, when it comes to Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, do you think this is going to be the fit that takes the Chargers over the edge inevitably? Or do you think that, even though it seems so ideal with the talent of Justin Herbert with Jim Harbaugh, it's still going to have to be somebody else that Jim Harbaugh gets as their quarterback, 2-3 years down the road when all that dead money's off of Justin Herbert? Do you think it's going to be that way, or do you think this duo is going to actually make it work?
This is it. This is it. And by the way, we've seen Jim Harbaugh do way more with far less, right, at the quarterback position. We've seen it. So we know what he can do, what he can turn guys into. I told you I was in the building a few weeks ago, 2 Mondays ago, and I saw Gus Edwards, the running back they brought over from the Ravens, and I saw J.K. Dobbins. Gus is big as hell. I mean, this dude looks like he wants to just run the ball downhill for 4 quarters. That's what he looks like walking through, and I got a chance to talk to him. And so if anybody paid attention to Jim Harbaugh, what he does, even at Michigan, where does most of his plays come from? Big plays down the field, because they know they're so effective at running the football. And I'm glad that mentality is back, man, because I believe this. I believe that when you have the mentality to throw, 70, 75% of the time, and you're not focused on the running game, I think the entire team takes in that habit, right? That mindset of we're not going to run the football, we're going to pass block, we're going to be finesse. I think that Jim Harbaugh's whole thing is he wants to send a message. He wants to send a message to everybody out there. We're going to run the football and protect Justin Herbert. And what do we know Justin Herbert can do more than anybody in the NFL? I don't think he's a better quarterback than Pat, but what can he do more? He has a bigger arm. He had the biggest arm in the NFL. And so when you're sitting there, you're gashing people on the run, you're forcing those linebackers, those safeties to have to come up there and help out in the box because they're gashing. What happens? You got a couple guys that can get back behind you in deep coverages. And so, like I said, man, it's a mentality that we had. And the reason why our run game was so effective, the reason why Antonio Gates was so great, Vincent Jackson, all those guys, Malcolm Floyd, why they had big seasons, Keenan Allen, a little bit after I left, is because they established a run game. When you establish a run game, everything else opens up. And the NFL, in my opinion, it's been going away. I know the quarterback is everything, but they shied away from what made football great. We used to go down there and play the Chiefs. When I tell you this line up and run the ball 35 plus times a game, my shoulders from seeing Brian Waters and Tony Richardson, Willie Rolfe, these guys, and even when Priest Holmes went out, Larry Johnson came in. I mean, it was pound the damn football, man. And you got to come play. We knew, I don't care if we won or lost, that game was going to be physical, and we had to deal with them. And so, I thought we was a much better team than times we went down there and played the Chiefs, man. But I knew also I'm leaving that game sore. And my next few days it's going to be rough getting out of bed because they played such a brand of football that people didn't want to play, and that's what's happening with the Chargers this year. Jim Harbaugh is establishing a brand of football that people don't want to play, and it's like, hey, you're going to have to line up and beat us for 4 quarters. We're going to pound the football. We're going to tackle. We're going to play hard nose. And then, by the way, we got a quarterback that can throw 60-plus yards down the field. So deal with that. So I think the mentality is still going to be to use Justin Herbert. I think that they're going to lean away from having to rely on him. So it's a completely different situation.
Shawne, I'll tell you what, man, as always, we can't thank you enough for jumping on with this, man. We saw you at the Super Bowl. We'll see you at the next one. Maybe the Chiefs will be back there with us. Maybe the Chargers this year, but we always wanted to direct everyone to lightsoutxf.com. What you guys are doing is tremendous, revolutionizing the fight game, and it's really relatable. The product's getting better, and you see Lights Out Sports there. You can go check out all of these streaming events going on there. Shawne Merriman, thank you so much, man. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Shawne.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always an honor. Take care.
You got it.
He's a cool freaking dude, man. He was a cool dude.
He's left the room, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on Arrowhead Allies. Shawne Merriman, lights out in the house. And he walked it back a little bit. He was a little intimidated by Noah.
Yes, he was.
When he brought up, he was like,
oh, man,
I got to walk that back. He's like, I don't know. It's like, I know I said this might be the Chargers division. I see Noah with his red face and his red arms and his sunburned
red ass.
And it's like, as Shawne Merriman would say, sign him up. Thank you guys so much.
We'll see you next time. Arrowhead Allies. Go Chiefs!